Happy Black History Month, friends. It's so good to see so many of you. So I clicked leave meeting on the computer, stored a few of the stories staff told me to consider for us in my head. And their message was, Daniele, the story of your nonna who didn't know English, but knew all the subplots of The Young and the Restless, or the one about your dad who found you sitting on your plastic covered couch spooning Nutella when you were 8 years old. Just tell a tale to set the tone and reflect and connect and inspire. And then when you're done, send it back to Sean, easy peasy. So anyway, I get up, stand up to clear my head from all of the Zoom, WebEx, Teams calls that we are all on. I'd had enough, you're on mute for the day. And I head out to my almost daily COVID walk and talk, a walk through my neighborhood in Woodbridge, maybe with some of you, where I apologize profusely for the background wind, the speeding souped up Hondas that are driving along Highway 7, or one of my neighbors yelling out, buongiorno, and me trying to say I'm on the phone. And I find myself where I usually land, at the Humber River and Clarence Road in Woodbridge, this indigenous land where the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Huron-Wendat, and generations of others farmed, fished, hunted, hoped, imagined, and reimagined the place we love. Their home, this corner I now call home, with a sign that reads Carrying Place. Carrying Place, once known as the Humber Portage or Toronto Passage, a 45-kilometer portage route that linked Lake Ontario to Lake Simcoe, used for transportation and trade of food, consisting of one long portage instead of several short ones. The archives show that when the low waters of the Humber River were too difficult to travel, when travelers were alone and needed community, when the winter froze and the steep banks offered little defense against attack, or when they were just running out of time and needed a faster route, people would gather here at the Carrying Place, days, weeks, whatever it took, to seek each other, connect, take root, find courage, and then advance together. I love that. To seek each other, connect, take root, find courage, and then advance together. So I slowly make my way down the snowy, slippery slope, careful not to slide into the river. Now patches of ice along most of the shoreline, but not yet fully covering part of the river in the middle. Ice so thin, I can see the water below from the tree stump that I sit on. And I try to unpack a nonna or a Nutella narrative, try to find a way to layer a thin system message on top of all the stuff we are doing across this province below. I try to state the obvious. My Uncle Frank was a janitor at the Toronto District School Board by night, and when his shift ended, his Pontiac Parisian would come around the corner at 7 a.m. every morning. And there I would be, waiting on the porch as my parents had gone off to two of their part-time jobs, waiting for my Uncle Frank, Daniele's childcare. And after a healthy brekkie of half a loaf of Italian bread with mortadella and provolone and 3 shots of espresso, we would jump back into the Parisian to a little apartment at Keele and Lawrence, where he was also the handyman. We walk in and Mrs. Square is screaming, Frank, there's a flood in the basement. We run down the steps. There are people everywhere throwing towels on the floor, trying to suck up the water. And my Uncle Frank screams, and go turn off the main water valve. Throwing towels and trying to turn off the main water valve. Nothing alarming or new here, friends. Not for any of us. When data suggests that COVID is disproportionately hitting our most vulnerable, the intersectionality of poverty, equity, geography, the layering of pandemics, all of us right across this province immersed in the towel up the water now interventions, as we should be, and when COVID is magnifying, amplifying, screaming upstream problems, also trying to get our collective head and hands on the main water valve, the system solutions, action on Truth and Reconciliation Commission, commitment to address anti-Black racism, an economy with fair and equitable opportunities and decent work for all, pathways out of poverty, affordable, appropriate, and safe housing, communities with quality and affordable childcare, elder care, public education, pharma and dental care, transit. Nothing alarming or new here, friends. So why is it that as I feel the wind on my back and stare at the water of the Humber River rushing downstream, as I think about that picture of so many of us, but a few years ago, over 100 of us strong, all of us, crammed in what would now be an illegal super spreader, no COVID event. All of us, people with lived experience, agencies, social justice and faith groups, labor, all of us standing together at the Trinity United Church in Toronto to launch Ontario for All. Our collective ask to all parties gathered miraculously onto a one-page call to action. As I think about all our work since then, toolkits and training to hundreds of nonprofits, staff and board members across the province, new networks with hundreds of partners addressing housing, income supports, poverty reduction, and systemic racism, campaigns to reverse the cancellation of $67 million in cuts to income supports for children, and block changes to ODSP affecting thousands, and on and on. Why is it that none of these stories my staff told me to just recycle are really sticking, connecting with me for our work ahead on Ontario for All 2021? Then I catch a glimpse of myself in the water and think, damn, have I aged? And I think, damn, do I feel alone? And damn, am I pissed off? Sorry. Damn, am I angry? Despite all the webinars and rah-rah and moments of immense generosity and humanity that we have all seen across this province, each and every one of us trying to deal hope, why does this me that I see feel more alone and angry than in all my decades of this work? And just to clarify, angry with me mostly. I got into this work soaked in mission, of course, as did all of you. That's why you're here. And I got in immersed with, not for, not by, but with community, with so many of you as mentors, whether you know it or not, so many that I learned from, so many that heck, I stole from. Good ideas, good lessons shared with others. And I always had a sense of time, like this takes time. We have got to take our time in time, never intentionally avoiding what we hope to accomplish and with whom, but somehow now, maybe because of too much suffering in neighborhoods across this province, maybe too many layering of pandemics on pandemics, maybe too much COVID bubble at home time, or too much walking to this carrying place time, somehow I'm staring at myself in the water and wondering, maybe I have degraded the urgency of our mission. Maybe I've gotten a little distracted. A reflection of DZ, me, in 2021, so different than even that moment surrounded by all of you when we launched Ontario for All in 2018. Maybe you, when you reflect, a little different too. And goodness knows, our province, people in our communities in 2021, so different, painfully different since but a few years ago. So I make a commitment to my masked reflection in that running Humber River water. And I make it to you, to make more time, to summon, channel, angry DZ, angry me, into resolved, committed, reaching out to engage more people from all walks of life, DZ. And to rush into the urgency and need of meeting the immediate and grabbing hold of the same old main valves that have been leaking for decades, that we've been screaming about for decades, but must be fixed now. And I will always include a please and thank you, of course. Our Ontario for All 2021 starts with me, because I feel I need to do this now. It starts with you, wherever you are, when so many of us travelers feel alone and need our community like never before. When layers are freezing and forming and forcing us to defend, and risk not advancing. Our Ontario for All 2021 starts with me and you coming together here and now, hundreds of us huddled together in little squares on this screen to find each other, connect, take root, find courage, and then advance together for hours, days, whatever it takes, so that this place we love is an Ontario for all. Thank you for joining us in this caring place. Sean, back to you, my friend.